Okay, when you open up Onshape, make sure if you go to the top right, you see your name. And if you click this and you see something that says switch to Byram Hills, switch to it. If you don't see that, you're in the right place. You should be at bhhs.onshape.com if you've gotten to the right place. I just shared this document with you. It's called B Hills Vex Robotics Parts Library 1.30. In order for you to find it, click on Onshape, go to Shared with Me, and then you should see that document listed. Okay. Uh, since I just created it, let's see, here it is right now. You'll be opening it. It'll look like this. And the first thing you're going to do is you're not going to be allowed to edit in here. So you're going to have to make a copy of it for yourself. To do that, you come up to these three buttons or lines here and you say copy workspace. And then please stick your name in front of this, your last name. You can get rid of the word copy too if you want. Some of this other stuff if you want. So Wickton, boom. And I'm going to say, okay. And it might take a little bit of time, so I'm going to pause. Okay, after you copy workspace part has ended, that might take you a little bit of time because there's a lot of material here. You should see a blank canvas and you should be at where I wrote build one here. So this would be your first assembly tab that you're going to be building on. It's already in place for you. And one of the key things to learn in this lesson is how to insert parts. So if you hit the insert button, the first time you do this, you're probably going to get a lot of generating previews. My advice would be just hang in there for a few minutes and wait till that goes away. All right, after you wait a while and then you hit insert, you shouldn't see those generating previews anymore. So finally, I mean, it took me a while, but I just was patient and now I can see all the parts. So first I want you to type up in the box here, metal. That'll take you to the metal category. And then if you hit the arrow to the side, it'll show you what's within that. As a warning, if you hit this entire button, if you just hit metal, it'll try to insert every single metal part there is, and you'll be sitting there watching it spin for a long time. So try to avoid that. But to begin, let's just go and scroll down and find a piece of 1x2 by 25 aluminum. And we'll hit insert just once. You'll see there'll be a little spinning delay there, and then it should appear. And if you click, you can let it go. And once you hit the green button or the green check, it will now be in your build. You should definitely make sure at this point you know how to zoom in and out with the mouse wheel. If you're using a trackpad, I advise you to get a mouse, but there are ways to zoom in and out with the trackpad. It's like a pinch zoom, etc. You should also practice right clicking or control clicking and making sure you can pan in a circle or around the part that you have. And the last thing it's important on the mouse, you just push the wheelie button down and you can move it back and forth and up and down. You really need to make sure you can do all three of these behaviors, this one and this one and this one, in order to be successful in Onshape. And a mouse makes it super easy. I've been telling you that for a long time, but a trackpad, you can do it as well. All right. Once you get your piece in place, if we double click that first piece, we'll see these arrows appear. And right at the circle where the arrows come out of, if you right click it, you'll see at the top of the menu, move to origin and hit that, and the piece moves over. And the next thing I'm going to do is just click off, get the arrows to go away, but then right click on this again, and I'm going to fix that piece. I've been saying this for a while too, but I don't know if you hear it. First piece that you put in Onshape, it's always nice to just fix it in place so that as you put things on it, the piece itself isn't spinning, just the things that you put on it. All right, so we have our piece there, and now we're going to learn how to fasten something to it. So we're going to go to Insert, and in the box, we're going to type Motor, and click here, and pick the 2-wire 393 motor with the IME. Hopefully that's going to work, even though it doesn't have a preview for it. And once I get it in there, I'll hit the green check. And if I click on this, left click and drag it, I can move it around. But what I want to do is just fasten it onto this piece somehow. So I come up here, I hit the fasten button, and I'm going to move around so I can see the motor. It's important to understand how motors work. The shafts go here, and you have 2 screws going there that hold it in place. I'm going to use one of the screw holes as my position fasten point. As soon as I see that crosshair appear, I'll click it, and now it appeared right there. The other place I'm fastening this to is to the C channel. So it doesn't really matter where, but I'm going to pick a spot. Let's take that one. And before you hit the green check, scroll out, take a look, and that looks good. Sometimes you may have to hit this rotate button around. In my case, it was fine, so I'm just going to leave it where it was. And sometimes you may have to hit the flip primary axis button, right? I'm just going to leave that where it is. And while I'm here, there's also the ability to offset things. I don't need to offset this, but it's good to know how to do it. If I hit the offset area and I take a look, there's some coordinates in here. There's a Z, an X, and a Y. I don't know how well you can see it in there. But if I say offset on the Z 2 inches, all of a sudden the motor moves through the metal for 2 inches. If I hit minus 2 inches, it gets further away. And I can manipulate all of those to make the motor attached to basically whatever I want. I'm going to go back to 0 because that was looking fine. Once I'm happy with the mate, I hit the green check and I'm done. The next thing we're going to do is insert and go to axle and hit the arrow to see which axles we have. And we're going to pick a 3-inch axle. I'll put it in place. And while I'm here, I'm also going to get a gear. I don't have to do one part at a time. I can do more than one. So I'll type gear. I'm going to click on the gear and I'll take a 36 tooth gear and it's in there and I'll hit the green check. So we've got a fasten mate between the motor and this C channel. Next, I'm going to put a revolute mate between the shaft and the motor. So you hit this icon for revolute mate. Again, you're going to need to find points. I'm going to pick the end of the shaft or axle because that's always very easy. There's the crosshair. And then I'm going to find the part on the motor, which is inside here. It's where the axle goes, and click it. Now, before I hit the green check, I do notice that the axle is pointing through the motor, which is not what I want. So if I flip the primary axis, it'll now have it stick out there. And if I want to check out how this revolute mate works, I'll hit the play button and I can see that it's spinning inside the motor, which is what I want. So green check on that. I could also, if I needed to, offset those. I don't need to. It's fine. Green check. Now I'm going to add the gear with a fasten mate to the shaft. So fasten and find the center point of the gear. That looks good. And find the center point of the shaft. That looks good. And now the gear is on there. And I would like you to offset that a little bit so it sits better. And let's say it's like minus an inch, it looks like. And is it bumping into the metal a little bit? So I'll go minus 0.8 inches. And that looks fine. And I'll hit the green check. So at this point, it's important to think. We've put one fasten mate between the motor and the C channel, a revolute mate between the axle and the motor, and another fasten mate with the gear on the axle. Now, if I grab the gear and move it back and forth, because it's attached to something that can revolve, I get to see it actually revolving. I can also right-click this revolute mate and hit the animate button. If I hit play, I'll see not only does the axle spin, but whatever I've attached to the axle spins as well. I can also change my animation settings here. So instead of going a full, say, rotation, maybe I just want to go 90 degrees. And instead of taking 300 steps to get there, I'm going to do it in 25. And I'll hit play, and you could see the difference. It's going to spin really fast for 90 degrees, spin back 90, bang, bang, bang. So there's things that you can manipulate in your animate to change how that's done. That is your first lesson to do that, and then make a screencast describing what you did and a challenge that you overcame.